Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into the exciting world of modding. We are going to learn how to create mods for RE engine games like Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 3 and 2, and even Devil May Cry 5, and many more. In this video, we'll focus on modding Resident Evil 4 Remake as our example, but the modding process is the same for all these games. We will cover everything from exporting game assets, including meshes and textures, to editing those files in Blender and Photoshop. This is the mod we are going to make. It's Nico from Devil May Cry 5. We are going to replace its body out of it, not the head, only the body and out of it, with Ada Wong. Alright, the first step is to export the assets from the game. This includes meshes and textures. To do that, we need a tool called RETool, so we download it. You can download it by clicking the link here, and I've also included the link to this page in the video description, along with links to all the other tools we'll be using. Next, we need a list file, which is essential for the extraction process. We have list files available for games like Resident Evil 2, 3, 4 and DMC5 and more. You can download these files from here. Download the entire list. Now that we have the files, let's get started. First open RETool and extract its content somewhere you have at least 40 GB of free storage. Next, open the downloaded list file. Open this folder. Then go to Projects folder and look for the game you want to mod. Since I am modding Resident Evil 4 Remake, I'll find its corresponding file, which is this one. Once you find it, drag and drop the list file into the RETool installation directory, which is here. Now, create a new text file. You can create it anywhere you want. Open it and drag and drop the extract.pack.bat file into the text file, like this. You should see a few lines of code appear. We need to change just one part, this part. Replace the current list file name, which is this, with the new list file name. Copy the full name of the new list file and paste it over the old one, this one, and then save the file. Done. Now you can close the text file and even delete it afterward. Now we can extract the game content. Go to your game's installation directory, where the game.x file is located, and look for the pack files. The one with the largest size is the one we need. In this case, it's this one, retrunk000.pack. Drag and drop this file onto extract.pack.bat, like this, and it will start extracting the game files. Be patient as this can take a while. Once it's done, you'll see a new folder in the RETool directory containing all the game files you need. The folders and files might not have detailed names, so finding what you're looking for can be tricky at first. For characters, here is how it works. All the characters' mesh and textures are located inside this path. The Character 0 folder contains Leon, Character 1 is Ashley, and Character 2 is Ada. Inside each of these, you'll find other folders that contains different assets from each character. For example, in Ashley's folder, there are 4 subfolders, one for her default look, one for her jacketless look, and the other for her additional outfits. And within each of these subfolders, you'll find more folders containing different assets, such as one for body and outfit and another for the head and hair. And remember, the mesh files and textures are stored together in the same folder. That's how the folder structure works for this game. Now that we have the files, let's edit them. To edit the mesh files, we'll need Blender. You can download it for free from here. I'm using Blender 3.6, but higher versions like 4 and 4.2 will work as well. Next, we need a Blender plugin to import and export RE Engine mesh files. I'll be using this plugin. You can download it like this. First, install Blender and open it. Once Blender is open, select General here. Switch to Modeling from the top bar here and change the mode to Object mode. This is where we'll be editing the mesh file, but before importing the mesh file, we need to install the plugin. To do this, go to Edit, Preferences, then click on the Add-ons tab, then click Install here, and locate the downloaded plugin file in this window, and select it. After that, click Install Add-on. Then it should appear in here, and you need to check the box to enable it, that's all. Once done, you can close this window. Now we are ready to import the mesh file, but before that, select all of these objects, then delete them by pressing the delete key on your keyboard. Now go to File, Import, and as you can see, there are many options. Look for the RE mesh. This is the one we just installed. Select it. Now, you need to locate the mesh file you want to edit. I'll be editing this one, which is located in this path. Once you find and select the file, enable or disable the options on this side based on your needs. I only need this one, so I disable the rest. After that, click Import and give it a few seconds. And there you have it. To navigate in Blender, you can use the controls here, or simply use your mouse scroll wheel to zoom in and zoom out, and hold the scroll wheel to rotate around the object. If you switch the viewport shading to this option, the textures will be applied to the model as well, so you can see what you're really working with. If you also want other part of the model, you'll need to import them in the same way. Just find the file and import. They will import on top of this model, however, only import the parts you're going to edit. On the right side, you'll see a panel with the objects, armatures, and the materials you've imported. You can select Edit or delete them from here, or you can directly click on the object in the scene. Now let's say you want to delete part of the mesh. Simply select the object you want to edit, switch to Edit mode from here, and use these options to highlight the vertices, the part of the model you want to delete. Press the Delete key and select Vertices. Then that part of the model will disappear. In here and in game as well, if we install this as a mod. If you want to delete the entire object, just select it from here and delete it. You can also adjust the positioning or scale of the object, make them larger or smaller, and the change will reflect in the game as well. Now let's say you want to replace the entire model with a new one that you created or downloaded. For example, I have this. It doesn't matter if the new model is an FBX file, OBJ, or another format. What you need to do is import that model on top of your original one. The next thing we need to do is position the new model to fit the original one. To do this, select the new model's objects and use the transformations tools in object mode to resize and position it as needed. For more finer adjustments, you can switch to pose mode and adjust the skeletons if your model has any. If it doesn't, you can switch to edit mode to manipulate vertices. There is also a sculpt mode for more detailed adjustments. The goal is to fit the new model onto the original skeleton, making sure the bones align properly. You can hide objects using this option to see the skeleton better and adjust your model. You can also delete small objects if you don't need them. After a while, I have the new model fit properly on the original one. Another important thing to remember is that when adjusting the body and that of it, you also need to make sure the head model fits as well. It's a good idea to import and adjust the head model as well, if necessary. You can try to attach the out of it to the head, the neck, or the head to the out of it. For that, you need to edit the head mesh. It's best we edit both. There are some techniques other modder uses to make the connections between different parts look better, like adding accessories, necklaces, for example, or creating out of it that cover the transition areas. If you leave gaps or connect them poorly, it will look bad in the game. Find the best solution for your model and fix it. In the end, once the new model fits the original one, we need to apply the original mesh file armature to it. Right now, if you select the original mesh file armature and switch to pause mode, then try to move them, the new model won't move with them. We need to fix that. First, you need to remove your new mesh file armature, if it has any. Before you delete it, you have to apply the armature, or after you delete it, the change we did for the mesh will not remain. So first, select your new objects, then from here, apply the armature, like this. Do this one by one for all your objects, all your new objects. Then select the armature, your new armature, and delete it. Now, this part is the most important part in modding. We need to transfer weights from original model to the new one. For that, first of all, we have to make sure our new model, new objects, has no vertex groups and modifier. To remove them, select your new object, then from here select this icon, and if you have any modifier, remove it like this. Next, select this icon, and in vertex groups, click on this, then select delete all groups. Do this for all of your new objects. So, after you've done that part, we can transfer weights. In order to transfer weights, first go to object mode. Then select one of the original objects, the one you want to transfer its weights. Then hold Shift and select one of the new objects, the one you want to weight to transfer. Then go to weight mode here. Your new object should look blue. Now, click on weights and transfer weights. Now on this menu, change this to by name and set the other settings like mine. Then done, you did it. But we also need to do few more other steps so we don't end up having weird looking modeling game like this one. Still the same object selected in the weight mode, click on weights, select clean, set the limit to 0.01 and change a subset to all groups. Okay, next click on weight again, then smooth. Set this to all group and the rotations to 5. Go to weights again and select limit total. Set the limit number less than 8, like 5. Okay, finally select the weights again and normalize all. And done. The weight transfer is complete for this object, but you'll need to repeat this process for each new object you have. For every new object, select the corresponding original object to transfer weights properly. When working with the upper body, use the original objects located at the top, and for the lower body, use the ones at the bottom. For instance, when transferring weights for the leg, avoid using the arms as a reference. The easiest way for this is to join all objects together, then do this part. Go to Object Mode and join original objects first. Select them all and go to Object and Join. Okay, now you have only one object. If you also do this for your new objects as well, then you only need to transfer weights once. You can also join only few of your separated new objects and apply transfer weights to them. For example, you have 3 new objects, which all 3 only complete one original object. Then you can join those 3 and transfer weights to them from that one original object. But sometimes we need separated objects because of how we're going to apply textures. If your objects has separate textures for each, you can't apply them correctly if you only have one object. But we can still separate objects after we join them and transfer weights. So, if you want to join objects, before you do that, give them a material if they don't have any. Select your object and make a new material and do it for all. Then after you join the objects, if you select it and go to Edit Mode and select All and right click, then choose Separate and by Material, then they will be separated again by Material. This is the best way doing it for this purpose, replacing new objects to original ones. Of course, after transferring weights, you can still do adjustments manually. But if you don't know how and don't have experience with Blender, what I did was more than enough. See which ways you're liking and do that. Okay, right now I transferred correct weights to every single one of my new objects. So let's do the next step. Next, select your model's object one at a time and go to the Modifiers tab. Click Add Modifier and choose Armature, this one. In the Object field, select the armature that corresponds to the part of the model you want to move with the skeleton. For example, I select this one, it's for the body, and this one is for the head, which we don't need right now. Do this for all the objects in your new model, one by one. After that's done, select the bones and go to Pose mode. Now when you move the bones, your model should move correctly with them. The next step is to rename the new objects. Copy the original objects' names and paste them onto the corresponding new objects. This is crucial because the MDF file uses these names to apply textures. But before that, it's important to understand what kind of texture files you have. This will determine how many objects you need and how to handle them in Blender. If your texture covers the entire model in one file, for example, if you have a single texture file that includes everything, body, outfit, boots, like this one, then you only need one object. So in Blender, if you have several objects, join them and make them one, just like before we did in weight transfer. However, if your model uses separate textures for different parts, for example, one texture file for the body, another for the outfit, and yet another for the boots, then you'll need to keep these as separate objects in Blender. For each separate object in your model, you will apply the corresponding texture file. I'll demonstrate this process as we continue. Now let's get back to renaming the new objects. To copy the names, double-click on the original object, press Ctrl+C to copy. Then double-click on the new object and press Ctrl+V to paste. Do this for all the new objects in your model. And when you're renaming this object name with this one, the textures that belongs to this will apply on this. And make sure the names match exactly. Once that's done, delete the original objects. I mean the ones you don't want to be there anymore. And make sure you're only deleting the objects, not the armature. Next, select all of these new objects one by one. Just the objects, not the collection. And drag and drop them on this mesh file collection, the one responsible for the body and out of it parts. Make sure the head or any other unwanted parts aren't included here. Okay, we are almost ready to export, but before that, let's make sure everything is ready to go. In object mode, select all of the objects inside this collection and press Ctrl A. Then apply all transforms. After that, select your objects that you delete their vertices or edit them and go to edit mode, then press A to select them all. And from mesh, go to cleanup. Then select delete loose. Okay, we are ready to export. To export, go to File, Export, and choose RE Mesh. Make sure to select the correct options. Here, choose the game you're modding. I am modding Resident Evil 4 Remake, so I choose this. Next, and most importantly, in the Target Collection field, select the collection where we placed our new objects, this one. Then set the export options as shown, and finally choose a directory to export. And most importantly, make sure your file name is correct. It should be the original mesh file name that we edit. And these numbers are the Resident Evil 4 Remake mesh file format. Do not change them at all. Finally export. And done. We have a mesh file, and this is it. Now that we have our mesh file, the next thing we need is the texture. We have to apply the texture to our mesh. First, download Noesis, which you can get it from here. We need this to view and apply texture. And we also need a plugin to view these files in Noesis, which you can get that plugin from here. Let's start installing them. First, extract all the content from the Noesis zip file. Extract it anywhere you want. Next, open the plugin zip file and drag and drop this remesh.py file into this path. In the Noesis installation directory, open the plugins folder, then the Python folder, and put it here. Done. Now you can view the mesh file we edited. Open Noesis. Close this and locate the mesh file we edited. Double click on it and click load. Now you can view the model. As you can see, there is no textures applied on it. So let's add the textures. In the original mesh file directory, you'll find all the original texture files, along with an MDF file, this one. What we need to do next is download MDF-Manager to view which textures we need for our model, and also modify the MDF file. You can download MDF-Manager from here. After that, extract the content and it's ready to open. Afterward, copy the original MDF file and paste it beside your edited mesh file. Now open MDF-Manager. Drag and drop the MDF file into it, like this. And click on this to open it. On this side, you'll see the mesh objects, the ones we edited inside Blender. And on the other side, here, you'll find their corresponding textures. And the path, which is located here, to where the textures are located. In Blender, we replace the new object names with the original ones, right? Now, we need to find those here, the same objects. The ones I replaced are these. Only the last part of their name is mentioned, so just look for that. Keep only those objects and delete the rest by right-clicking on them and select delete. You can also change this one to that one by changing the name. That works as well. It only needed if your object shares the same textures, but you need them to be separated. When you select an object here and then select its texture format, you'll see which texture file belongs to this one. By changing that texture, you'll change the object's appearance. You change the texture that belongs to that object, and that will change its appearance. That's how it works. Once you're done modifying what you need, save the file by clicking on File and selecting Save. It's important to save it. The texture files you need are all in the same folder as the mesh file. Now, select your object here, choose its texture format, and find which file belongs to it. You can identify them by the file names. Each object has 3 or 4 texture formats that we need to edit. Find them all one by one using MDF-Manager. Then, copy them and paste them next to your edited mesh file. Okay, open Noesis again and go to the same directory. And as you can see, the textures are here. You can open them and review them. We are going to replace them with the new texture files that belongs to our new mesh. And to see them on your mesh like this, you double click on the mesh, then check this load texture box and load. But as you can see, nothing loaded. But why? The reason the original textures aren't being applied to the mesh is due to a mismatch in the folder structure. The MDF file can't locate the textures because the edited mesh file, MDF file, and original textures are currently stored in the different path than the original folder structure they need to follow. To fix that, replicate the exact folder structure from the original files and place your edited mesh, MDF file and texture files within the structure. This should allow the MDF file to identify the textures and apply them. I'll provide a more detailed explanation in the next steps about this part. Now, if you open Noesis again and navigate to the replicated folder structure we just built, then open the mesh and load the textures, it should work. However, this isn't our final goal. This time, we need to replace these textures with the new ones that match our edited mesh. To do this, we'll need Photoshop or GIMP if you prefer. I'm going to use Photoshop. Download Photoshop and install it. Now, go back to Noesis. Okay, we need to export these texture files as TGA or PNG formats, so we can open them in Photoshop. Right-click on the texture in Noesis, select Export, and choose TGA or PNG formats. Select the directory to export them to. By default, it will be the same folder they are in, and the file will save with the same file name, but a slight change at the end, so it won't replace the original one. You can change the name if you want, but for now just export them all one by one. Now, these are the exported TGA texture files. The file name is the same, but in the end of the name, you can see outward. You can identify them this way, or by their format. Now, you can open them in Photoshop or GIMP, also Blender. There are 3 or 4 types of texture file for each object, but the most important one is the albedo, which defines the base color of a 3D object. And then we have alpha to coverage, normal map roughness, and a mask map. We open all of them in Photoshop and start editing. For my model, it has all these textures. The only thing I need to do is replace them with the new ones. For that, I select my texture and drag and drop it on top of the original one. And if your model don't have any custom textures, you can make it yourself, or just edit these here by using these options. In Albedo, for example, just paint the parts of the texture you want to be black, black, red, red. And to edit this one, if you paint it like this, then the roughness will be gone. Simple, right? After you're done editing textures, export them or save them as PNG or GPG files or DDS or anything that Noesis can open. But make sure you're not changing their size or resolution. Export them all. And you don't need to edit all of the texture formats, but if you do, your model will look much better. Okay, these are the files I edit in Photoshop. We need to convert them back to the original texture file, so MDF file can apply them on our mesh. First, put them together. Put them in the same directory as original texture file. This is important. If we don't have them together at the same place, it won't work. After that, open Noesis and let's convert. Go to that directory, and as you can see, we have them here. You can identify them by their format. Now to convert them, right-click on it and export. This time, change the format to this, RE for R, because this is the game I am modding. Do this for all of the files we edited in Photoshop. If you export them to the same directory by default, just refresh Noesis and you'll see the new file. The new file will have 2 out at the end of their name. That's the final exported texture. You can open it to see the changes. To apply these textures to our model, first we have to delete all the originals. Delete the TGA files and the original texture files. Keep only the final edited texture files, the ones with out in the end of their name. Next, delete the out part of their names, one by one. Just make sure they have the original texture file name. And we are done. Now, if you open the mesh file in Noesis and check the load texture option, this time our model will look correct. There it is. But if you think some of the object's textures are a little darker or different than others, or you want to change their materials for some reason, open the MDF file again, the edited one, and select the object you want to edit its texture, and from here you can do that by changing these numbers and some other options. After you change it, save the MDF file and refresh Noesis, then load the mesh file again to see the change. And you should also know, if you want higher quality texture files of your mesh, they are located inside a different path, which is here. But they are the same textures, just with the higher quality. If you want them, you can use them. Well, that we have the files now, let's make the mod file. We are not going to pack anything, just need to put these edited files inside the original folder structure. Original folder structure for the model I edited is this. It's the folder you have the original mesh inside, the mesh file we edited, but the original one. So I make a copy of this folder structure, the exact same one, and put the files inside it. You just make a new folder and rename it to these ones. Easy. And instead of rechunk000 folder, you can enter your mod name. You can also include an modinfo.ini file inside that folder and give your mods information like this. And also include a picture of your mod here and mention it in the ini file as well by its name. So this way, when we install the mod here in Mod Manager, you can see these informations. It's much more fun this way. Okay, I made them and I also put the edited files in the correct folder. So let's make this folder a RAR or zip file and give it a name, then install it. To install them, we're going to use Fluffy Mod Manager. You can download it for free from Nexus. After you download it, extract all the content inside it, somewhere you're comfortable with. Then open this Mod Manager file and select your game. If it couldn't find the game installation directory automatically, find it manually. After that, in Mod Manager installation directory, you will see another folder called Games. Open it, and inside it, open the folder with the game name you choose. Then, open the mods folder inside it. Now, put your RAR or zip mod file here, drag and drop it, copy and paste it, and refresh Mod Manager to see your mod. Your mod will be in the corresponding section. Click on it to install it. Another important thing to know about modding Ada in Resident Evil 4 Remake, especially if you want the mod to appear in the Seperate Ways DLC, is this. You'll need to install an additional mod alongside your own. Because we didn't directly edit the DLC mesh files, the DLC mesh and texture files are located inside another pack file. You can export them just like this one and directly edit them, but remember you need a list file for that as well. And that's all. I wish you good luck. And if you have any questions, please leave a comment. Thanks for watching.